Morning everybody. Now yesterday morning I had a coaching Skype call with my coach Tony Jeton Selimi. Now Tony's written a poem for myself and the poem's called, if you can see that, not very clear, Ocean of Light. So this poem relates to myself. I'm going to read the poem out to you and then I'm going to go through the stages of the poem as I discussed with Tony yesterday. Ocean of light. The long dark night always ends. The sun always dawns when the daylight begins. Give up the sense of separated self and give birth into the life-giving waters of union itself. Separated from the world is your pain. Connect with others and be that change. Embrace death as you do life. Accompany illness with the presence of life. Fear of death is what stagnates your mind. Free your imprisoned eternal soul and become kind. Trust death as you do life. It will propel you towards the ocean of health and light. Now there's stages in this poem, and the stage I'm at the moment is in the second line where it says, the sun always dawns when the daylight begins. But yesterday myself and Tony went through and we discussed the various other stages. So I'm just now going to share that discussion with you of what I can remember of it and add bits to it. This relates to OCD and other things in my life. The long dark night always ends. Now for myself, my dark period in my life was 22 years of obsessive compulsive disorder. Now, during those 22 years, I seen obsessive compulsive disorder, or OCD, as darkness, illness, and a great many other things, which I'll discuss as we go through. The sun always dawns when the daylight begins. Now, right now, I'm at the dawn, waiting for the light just to break through into my life. I'm right at that breakthrough moment. Now I had a great many false dawns during these 22 years when I looked out with myself for treatments for my OCD, looking for people to take my OCD away. But at the same time I now also realise that these false dawns, as I consider them to be, were leading me straight to this new dawn. Now, the next line is give up the sense of separated self. Now, during those 22 years, I did become separated from myself in a great many areas of my life, due to the fact that as my OCD became more potent in my mind, the more I would try to push it away from me. I kept pushing and pushing and pushing my OCD away. I didn't want it in my life, I didn't want it in my mind, and I just didn't want it, but it kept coming back and back and back and back. It was getting more and more potent. I'll discuss that as we go through, but that was what happened with myself. I think it's what happens with a great many other people who have OCD as well. The next line is, and give birth into the life-giving waters of union itself. Now as I became separated from myself and I was trying to push things away from myself, I now realise that I had to bring acceptance into my life and accept my OCD and bring my OCD closer to me. And as I do this, I give it union. I now have my OCD in this hand, which is the illness, and I have my OCD in this hand, which is the source of enlightenment. Because I now use my OCD for what I'm doing in my life, and I see how As it challenges me, it also serves me. Now, a couple of weeks ago I was in London and I attended Breakthrough Experience with Dr. John DeMartini, and I realised a lot of things in life, such as balance, such as you'll always be challenged in life and will always be supported at the exact same time, in union. It happens at the exact same time in union. If you see someone criticising you or challenging you, someone somewhere else in the world is supporting you. You maybe just can't see it, but it happens. And that is balance. It's a universal balance. So as I bring my OCD closer towards me and I accept it for all it is, I begin to truly see my OCD for what it is. Now, a couple of weeks ago also I discovered the cure for OCD, and that OCD for myself is a feedback mechanism from my spirit, my spirit's will, if you like, to let me know that through my mind and my body that I'm off track with my soul's purpose in life. So if I have my soul's purpose in life, which we're all born with a purpose when we come into this life, and then I have my spirit, I then have my mind, and then I have my body. Now, when I went off track in life, OCD was gifted into my life. Yes, because I believe it is a gift. I know it is a gift. It was gifted into my life. Now, it came into my mind when I was 17. And the day it entered my mind, I actually remember feeling and almost hearing a physical snap in my brain. Something just snapped right at the moment when it happened. And as the OCD then over the years became more potent and more potent and more potent, it was really affecting my body and my mind. It's what we call illness, it's what we see as symptoms. But in actual fact, what I discovered 2 weeks ago was that these are feedback symptoms through the body, through the mind, that the spirit, this person's spirit, gives to let them know that they're off track from their purpose in life, which is their soul's purpose. Now, it took me 22 years to discover that, and during those 22 years, they weren't 22 years that were wasted. They were all about learning. They were all about being taught by my OCD. OCD is a phenomenal teacher. It's taught me so much about my life, so much about human behaviour. And along the way, as I moved from NHS treatments to various other treatments, hypnotherapy, NLP, they were all my teachers also, because they were all leading me to Tony and Tony's TGS evolutionary method treatment. Now, for NHS, NLP, hypnotherapy, they were all trying to take my OCD away from me, which is impossible to do. For me, my sole purpose is to take my cure and my vision of OCD global, worldwide. I know it may seem hard to believe as I'm sitting here in my bedroom making this video, but that's absolutely the case. And as I awakened to this purpose and realised that my OCD started to dissolve. So we'll go on to the next part of the poem now. Separated from the world is your pain. and that's true also. Now, I've got a great many friends in life, but I never told them anything of what was going on in my life, so I just kept quiet about it. Now, when we keep quiet about things, we create, because I'm able to listen to my body now and I can feel things in my body. When we keep quiet about things, we create within ourselves constrictions and restrictions. I call this the constrict-restrict effect. But when we share things in our life, we create. Sharing is creating, hiding is constricting and restricting. I hope that makes sense. But if I hide something from someone, I'm not being authentic to myself or true to myself. I'm not being authentic to that person or true to them either. And this creates a restriction within myself, and I know it creates a restriction within that person as well. Whereas if I'm being true with a person, they may not like what I'm saying, but I'm being true with them, I'm actually creating. I mean, the first time I met Tony, he told me I was an idiot, and I'd paid him a lot of money, and I thought I didn't come here today to be called an idiot. The only other night I realised that I was an idiot at that time in my life, and thank you, Tony, for that. And that creation, that sharing of the word idiot to me has created so much in my life. It's created what I'm doing now, basically. And yeah, it's just creating what I'm doing now. Now the next is connect with others and be that change. Now, as I connect with more and more people, I'm becoming this change, showing them that OCD, which they currently see as an illness, is far more than an illness. Of course, there's people who will challenge me and say I don't know what I'm talking about, I haven't been to university, I don't have a degree, I'm not a doctor, etc. But there's also people who it'll intrigue, it'll inspire. That's the universal balance. Is you're always challenged, you're always supported. And that is what a lot of people in the world don't understand about universal balance. I mean, a great many people have watched the film The Secret, and they see if they're constantly doing good, they'll get good into their life. Now, after attending the DeMartini Breakthrough, I realised a lot of things, like people who constantly strive to be happy will never be happy. Happiness exists with sadness, just as good exists with bad. Now, if you're looking out with yourself constantly to be happy, and you're being hedonistic, searching for hedonism, because hedonism sells to the masses, you're never going to be happy. It's what I spoke about earlier about union, good, bad. They exist together, and when you realise that, good and bad they become one, and it gives you empowerment. Now, in my day-to-day life, I don't strive to be happy, because I know if I reach such a point in happiness, I'm going to be brought back down to here with sadness, because that's a balance. You can't go up here without being down here, because the universe will bring you back into balance. So, since I've realised what my sole purpose is, and this is the secret, you realise what the sole purpose is, and then you go after it, you commit to it. The universe realises this also, and it will support you in all that you want to achieve. It may take a long time, depends what your purpose is. My purpose is a global purpose, global vision. So it may take a long time. There is frustrations along the way. There is times where you feel like giving up, but because it's your purpose, you can't go back, you can't give up, and you fail forward. You feel like you're failing, but you're still going forward every day. This is how it is for myself. I have, at the moment, 2 full-time jobs, one in the oil and gas industry and one following my purpose. This one I like, dislike, pretty much the same. This one though, I love, because this is my soul's purpose. This is the one I go after every day. I've seen me sit 20 hours in front of a computer typing up my book on my journey through OCD, and it's easy. It's not work. It just flows, and at the end of it you feel empowered and fulfilled. Now, this is the other word that I realised. I want to be fulfilled. I want to fulfillment means fulfilling yourself, and fulfilling yourself is a far greater feeling than happiness. Happiness can't be sustained. You always have sad times in your life. So I need to connect with others, and if that's others in this world or the spirit world, that's where I need to go to connect. Now, the spirit world, I haven't been there yet, but I believe it exists. Tony's told me about the spirit world, so yeah, I believe it exists. Which is another thing I want to discuss about believing. Now, as humans we can believe in something, but until we actually know it, there will always be a little bit of us. We'll 99% believe it, but there will always be 1% of us that won't believe it. But once we know it, we then know we don't need to believe. I don't need to believe because I know. Now, I know the cure for OCD. Currently I'm working on healing myself through Tony, and working on a healing method that I can incorporate into my book to heal others. But once I've healed myself of OCD, I can then become a master healer of OCD, which I believe and I know is very important. How can you ask people or tell people this will work for you, this will take away your OCD, this will make you feel better, if you haven't done it yourself, you haven't walked your talk, you haven't travelled that road? Now, I'm on this road, on this path, and when I reach the point where I've completely healed my OCD, then I'll know. Right now, I believe that it's possible. And I know it's possible, but I don't truly know. But there will come that point where, and I'll just hit bang up here throughout my whole body, and I'll go, I'm healed, completely healed. That'll be the same feelings I had 2 weeks ago, where bang, it hit and I went, that's a cure for OCD. OCD is a feedback mechanism into your mind to let you know that you're off track from your soul's purpose in life. A lot of people don't even know what their soul's purpose in life is, or what their true values are in life. A great many times it can be your biggest void in life. It can be what you dream about, which you don't believe you can achieve. I think I'd really love to do that in my life, but I can't achieve that. You're scared of what other people will think of you. You're scared of what your family will think of you. You're scared of what the world will think of you. and it holds you back. It creates a fear, and you just think, I can't do that. You believe you can't do that. But what if you go after it and then you finally realise, and then you go, I've done that. Now I know I can do that. I've overcome my biggest challenge in life. If I can overcome my biggest challenge in life, I can do anything. I can become anything. So that's what I'm doing with OCD. And this video, I'd like to inspire you yourself to go after your soul's purpose. The other thing being that everything's been revealed to me in a sequence along the way, all I need to know. But what I've also discovered is I was born with all this built into me. All I'm doing is awakening to my true self, and as I awaken more and more to my true self, I discover more and more about my true self, and I see everything I'm discovering I already knew. It was born already in every living cell in my body, and I already knew it. I know all the answers to what I want to achieve in my life with my soul purpose. I just need to carry on, and the answers will be revealed to myself. So I'll carry on here. I'm getting a bit sidetracked. Embrace death as you do life. Accompany illness with the presence of light. Now, during the 22 years of my OCD, a great many times I thought about taking my own life. I would stare out my kitchen window in my flat. I have a tree that sits at the end of my garden, and I would look at it and I would just think, just go and hang yourself off that tree. Just end it. I work in the oil and gas industry. I would be working up high structures every day, and I would think, just go and jump off. Just end it, jump off. I was so tired, lethargic. My mind was completely cluttered with intrusive thoughts. At times I thought I was evil, and I just thought I'd be better off dead. Now this wasn't just a one-off event. I thought about this every day for years. Absolute years. It completely drained my body. And this is what OCD, when it's an illness, can do to you. Every single day, every minute, every second, I would have thoughts of killing myself. Now, they weren't always in my conscious mind. A lot of time they were swirling around in my subconscious mind. Now, I would say during this period of my life, 7/8 of my thoughts were completely entrenched in OCD. And it was completely separating myself from life, as I've discussed. And I was truly seeing the depths of my darkness, a darkness that exists in us all. I was also drinking so heavily just to mask this pain. I would go out with my friends and they would just see me getting drunk. I wasn't telling them the pain I was in. Drink had become my mask. Now, looking back on that period, I often wonder, was I an alcoholic, wasn't I? And yeah, I was. But the reason I was because I wasn't living life to my highest values. I didn't realise what my highest values were in life. Now, when you end up in the hospital on over half a dozen occasions going through detox, you're lying in a hospital bed with 2 drips in your right arm, 1 drip in your left arm, you're hooked up to heart monitors, your body's actually shaking and vibrating, you can't stop it. You've got nurses feeding you Librium tablets to stop you going into delirium tremors or DTs, then you know you're in a bad place. And I was in that place, and it was during that period in my life where I thought, I need to start looking for something else. I need to start trying to find another way. Get away from current treatments and just start moving towards something else. So one night after being in the hospital, I just stopped. I stopped and I looked and I went, NHS treatments, no. And I started looking at other treatments. I went for hypnotherapy, I went for NLP. These didn't work either. The reason they didn't work was because they were all trying to take my OCD away from me. But I'm thankful and grateful to the people I've seen during these times, and if I was to meet them again, I would thank them and I would hug them. I honestly would, because they were propelling me on until I found Tony Selimi. And TGS works from within. Tony's my guide, he's my coach, he's guiding me through, but all the work I do is internal on myself. And when you start working internally on yourself, you realise that what you've once been told is incurable is actually curable from within. I've heard Dr. John DeMartini say that. Incurable means curable from within. And that's true. And I know that. And I know that's coming. So embrace death as you do life. Now, I used to think about death all the time during those years, and ways and means of ending my life. I've actually cut my own wrists once, but that was a cry for help. So once you bring death and you bring life and you bring it together, you see it just exists as one. You can't have life without death, and you can't have death unless you have life. Now, accompany illness with the presence of light. Now, illness is OCD. I was able to transcend OCD, see it as a condition, and then I was able to transcend OCD, see it as a source of enlightenment to give me all I want in life. So here's the source of enlightenment. Now, as the two of them walk along together, like so, and then they cross paths, they become one. Now, this light is also love, and love heals. Love heals your OCD, and it just dissolves. It dissolves, and then you realise all the challenges that you had in your OCD were also supporting you. You were just blind to it, you just didn't see it. And then you can carry on. Now, for myself with OCD, and my vision and cure of OCD being my soul's purpose in life, I can then carry on. And I'm working on various things. I'm making this video. I have a book coming out which will be out next year, which will go through my story of what I've spoke about here in more detail. It will also have a method for curing OCD, and there'll be various other things about various other subjects in there, such as I've been discussing with you. Fear of death is what stagnates your mind. Now, this is very personal to myself, because the fear of death was what stagnated my mind. It trapped me and held me this fear of death actually held me in my lower consciousness of my mind. There's different conscious states in your mind, and I was held in the lower one. It was all fear of death, which I say is very personal one to myself. Free your imprisoned eternal soul and become kind. Now, as I carry on with my own healing of OCD, and I'm working on that with Tony through TGS, and I'm seeing a great many benefits to that already. I'm making breakthroughs every single day, and I've done an exercise with Tony where I had to write 400 drawbacks of OCD and 400 benefits of OCD. Now, that took me a little while, and at the end of it, it was 23,000 words I'd written. Now, most people with OCD would hit 400 drawbacks, no problem. But the benefits of OCD on this side, they wouldn't do it until they're shown guidance, until they awaken and see the supports of OCD and how it can be of a benefit to themselves. Now, as you're going through this process, you then start seeing how it challenges you and supports you and challenges you and supports you, and then you then start awakening, and I awokened and I said, I just love OCD and having it in my life, and I couldn't imagine my life without OCD. Not the illness, but everything it's given to me, because it's a constant giver, we just don't see it. Trust death as you do life, it will propel you towards the ocean of health and light. Now, as I continue along my path, I will end up in this ocean of light and health. And as I say, during those 22 years when I was pushing OCD away from me, pushing and trying to keep it as far away from myself as possible, that was where I was becoming separated from myself. I was becoming fragmented. But as I brought it back towards myself and then I accepted it, and I seen the challenges and the supports and how they all serve as one, I realised that OCD is just the greatest blessing and gift I have in my life. Now, another thing I'll discuss is in life how we try to fragment things. Now, I've spoke about the construct and restrict effect. Now I'm going to speak about what I call the fragmentation and disintegration effect. Now, in life, say this is happiness and sadness. Happiness is here, sadness is here, we bring them together to become one. But for 99.9% of the world's population, they don't want to be sad. They want to be up here with, excuse me, with happiness. And they think attaining happiness will make them happy in life. But as I've spoke about through universal laws, happiness can't be attained and can't be kept on its own. It exists. It exists with sadness. I mean, if I was to ask you, is there a time in your life when you've been happy? You'd say yeah. I'd say, is there a time in your life when you've been sad? You'd say yeah, definitely, on both accounts. Now, if you bring the two of them together to become whole, and then you can see them as a complete oneness. There's no black and there's no white. There's a grey, and there's also love. And that oneness is called unconditional love. And when you see that, you then see how in unison, they operate together. But when you have this circle and you start fragmenting it, you then cause disintegration, I'd say, in your life, and also it could be in the life of others, such as I've done myself. So when you fragment happiness and you take it away from this circle, and you don't want to be sad, you're fragmenting parts of yourself. Now this fragmentation starts to cause a disintegration within yourself. But when you bring it back together, after you realise this and you make it whole, you then just think on the whole subject differently. And it's more fulfilling and it's more empowering to know this. Now, this is what I done with my OCD. I fragmented it. All I seen was the darkness of OCD, or the challenges of OCD, and I put it out here, and I kept it out there. And I was completely blind to this side of OCD, which is the supports and the light, the source of enlightenment of OCD. I couldn't see this. All I could see was this, and I kept this out here. But as I brought them back together and brought them back in and slowly awakened to it and brought them into one and united them, I then seen how you've got to accept OCD. You've got to accept the oneness and the wholeness of OCD, and that the cures for OCD is within yourself. Now, I've had multiple conditions of OCD, all with different labels stuck on them. Labels I'm not going to discuss because I don't like labels. And I know people will be fearful of this. OCD is built on habits of fear, habits of constriction, habits of worrying about what others will think. It's a habit of hiding. Now, as you have your OCDs out here, I know you'll be fearful. I know you'll be terrified even to bring them towards yourself. You've held them out there for a reason. But as you bring them into yourself and you accept them within yourself and you bring the light and you let them become one, what the other thing is, you realise, which will be in my book, is that OCD, your personal conditions of OCD, are not loving to you. And when you say this to yourself, oh, my such and such OCD, it's not loving to you, you actually take on a completely different perception of your OCD. Instead of trying to keep it out there and protect yourself from it, which is what you're doing. You try to keep yourself safe, you try to protect yourself. You bring it in, you hold it there, you bring the light, you make it one, and you say, this is not loving to me. This is not loving to me. And it then takes on a completely different persona. And you can see, this is not loving to me. And there will come a time when you just feel like laughing at it. Now, that's kind of where I'd like to wrap up. I would just like to leave you with everyone I've met over the last 22 years. I'd like to thank everyone for all they've taught me. Every single one was a teacher teaching me something. At the time, I maybe could not see it, but now I can. They were all teaching me something. Everybody on this planet, doesn't matter who they are, can teach you something that you don't know about yourself or you've been blind to. It doesn't matter if it's who you consider to be your highest hero. It doesn't matter if it's someone lying homeless in the street. just doesn't matter. Everybody on this planet can teach you something. And when you realise this, you realise that your thoughts of what will others think of me, what will my family think of me, all of this doesn't matter. Just being yourself, being authentic to yourself, creates more and more authenticity within yourself, but it also creates more and more authenticity to those around you. When you're being truthful to everyone around you, instead of hiding behind masks, illusions or disillusions or lies, you're just restricting your life and their life, creating and sharing. And that's why I've created this video today. Now, at the end of my coaching session yesterday with Tony challenged me. He says, would you make this video, go through your poem and discuss what we've discussed? And I thought, oh, I need to put this out to the world if I'm going to do that. And then I thought, why not? It's just a creation and I'm just sharing. All I've done today is share my story with you. A story which will have more and more chapters added to it as I go through my healing journey. Eventually coming out the other side and being able to become a master healer of people's OCD. Not healing their OCD, just guiding them towards healing it themselves, showing them what I've been shown. And I'd just like to end the video with that today, and I wish you all well, and I thank you for listening. Thank you.